Welcome back to where we left off last time on Mount Sunday track, and it gets a lot more interesting from here. As you can see, as you've seen last time, the wire dropped off the injection pump, the fuel solenoid for the injection pump. But I was thinking about that the other day. I reckon the reason that it done it when I was mucking around with the new shock absorber towers, the bunch of wiring that goes across to that, I was moving out of the way and pulling to get it right out of the way, so might have been the culprit for that coming off. So we've got a fair bit of winching coming up. I reckon this is, I thought about it once I got off it, I reckon this has got to be probably the longest I've ever winched, ever. And it's the usual thing, you can't see how steep this is, but you can sort of get an idea as I come up to this over the last couple of videos with all the sleet and the rain and all that, what the ground would actually be like. So everything in between the rocks was just mud. And basically my tyres were going up onto the rocks with mud in the treads and just slipping the second they got onto the rock. What I am doing on this bit of a run here in between these trees up this section is I'm leaving the cable on the trees and I'm driving it, and I'm just letting the winch slowly pull me up onto things, and then I'll just inch forward so that the cable's not going onto the drum loose. And then I'll just work my way up to the tree, and there's a couple of bits where I drove in between, and then I just hook up again when I need to hook up and do the same again. It's nowhere near as bad, with plasma ropes winching onto the drum and winching over the top of them loose, but it's still not great. It damages the rope, so I don't like doing it. So that's why I'm just taking it easy. What I was doing up here further up was I was driving up to the next thing that was going to be an obstacle and getting out and having a bit of a look at it rather than racing up on it and getting into a precarious position. There's a few times here, which you can't see from inside the cab, where it was wheels off the ground, leaning over one way. But it's still very much steep up. As I was saying in the last video, the Discovery, if this was dry, you could walk up it in the Discovery even just with one rear diff lock, because there's a lot of rock outcrops, even though some of them are pretty gnarly and you're going to get wheels off the ground in some spots. It's still pretty much a walk up because it's so rocky. But there is some pretty big steps and ledges in amongst it, and I'm quite sure there's a few people turn cars over. And if you're an abuser, you can see the end result at the start of this climb with that automatic. This is the sort of thing that will break your vehicle if you keep smashing up against it flat out at high revs. This is a big ledge, this one, and there's a few different ways at it. I thought I'd go around this way to start with. I end up going back around the other side. But it is a really big step up onto that rock you can see in the middle there. It's a little bit amusing with the deep breathing going on here. I was in mad rush too. This is getting really late in the day. The camera's got a lot of light left in it, but it's getting dark, so I'm really pushing to get off this before it does get dark. I should have been able to drive this whole next bit of the length of track, but what happened is I come over that big ledge, one side's got a bit of traction and pushed me off and steered me off into the bush, so I had to back off. And then it was, you can see the ground I went up on. It was just all slushy, muddy stuff. This is probably the only real chance to see how steep it is here. As I walk up this next set of rocks, you can start to get an idea that it is pretty bloody steep here. And, you know, the thing is, I'm extremely impressed with how far the Discovery got without winching, and the sections that it done so good on without the winch at all. Given that it's on probably the most road bias all-terrain you've ever seen in your life, and it's just got the one rear diff lock. It done really, really well. And those rocks were just as slippery as. Anyone that knows this area, or anyone that's been to this track, or anywhere in the Tri-Mountain area in this region, the rock here is it's like a sandstone. It's hard to describe really, but it's what it does is when it's got any water, it gets greasy. And then on top of that, if your tyres are wet and they've got dirt or mud on them, yeah, just forget it. Same rock in the side of Barkley River Jeep track, up the side of Mount Skeen to the top as well, which is just over the road. You can see here, it wasn't taking a great deal of winching. You know, it was pretty light winching. The whole lot of it was, you know, very light winching. You can see this was a tree that was down, just laying down on the side of the track, and it was pulling the car forward for a good time before it ended up stopping. That sort of gives you an idea of how light the winching is. There was certainly no need for a tree trunk protector. With the plasma rope, we weren't winching that hard, and the Discovery's not that heavy. It wasn't choking the tree really at all. But up we go for another walk up the side of the hill, or the mountain. Slept pretty well after this, that's for sure. I'll tell you what, when I woke up the next morning and seen that the ground, it had snowed the way it did, and I camped really virtually just at the top of this climb, I can't tell you how lucky I was, because I was thinking about pulling up before this climb on the flat and tackling it the next day, and I thought, look, there's enough light left. I don't know what happened, I don't know what triggered that thought, but I am so glad that I ended up on the other side of this without the snow, because it was bloody treacherous enough travelling the other side of this with the snow down to the Barkley River Road. You can see and hear it here that I'm virtually driving this section here, but I'm just going real slow to wind that cable on. If I'm over this way later on in the year, as it warms up again, I'll come over and tackle it so that everyone can see and do a video of just this hill. It's a little bit out of the way, but I'd actually like to do it and post it up. Driving up it in the dry, and I can get some drone footage as well, which none of that I sort of got here. It was just too many things going on and getting way too late in the day. I was well and truly in let's get off here mode now, that's for sure. It should have been a good indication of what was coming later on that night that I still had a polar fleece top on while I was doing all this. This was some definite workout getting up this for that hour or so I was into it. It was freezing out there, even working flat out. That starter battery definitely got to work out with the winch, that's for sure. It's pretty much all but dark at this point. It's just camera trickery showing what's lights left there. I've absolutely no idea what's coming up, but I can tell you, I'd already decided that it was full speed ahead at this point. That was a bugger. Tyres were just slicks with that mud on them. I ended up going down to 15 psi. I didn't want to pull one off a rim either, but I reckon that's the longest winch I've ever done. Would have drove it easy in the dry. There's enough high rocks there to get over the diffs over it. Now we'll look for somewhere to set up camp, because I'm tipping to be some more of this somewhere. Hopefully we get one of those spots where it opens up a bit. I'm not even sure how far along we are. Here we go. Here's a good spot. Might be something up further. That looks like a spot in there. This ended up being a great little spot, sheltered right in the deep scrub, because we're, on the side of the mountain here, and the wind was getting up a fair bit, so it was ideal location. There was really only enough room for the car, and there was a bit of room out back. You probably could have got two cars behind each other into the spot. So I built a fire out the back and had the swag out the back as well, just in that little area. It was really good. And this is what I woke up to the next morning. It was about maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I was thinking, shit, it's bloody cold. And I opened up the swag and I was like, wow, that's why it's cold. There was some very speedy coffee making going on, getting some heat into the hands from the gas cooker on the stove as well. It's bloody freezing. All I was thinking at this point is, man, what's ahead? How steep is it going to be, up or down, ahead in these conditions with the snow on the ground? And there really was, even though there was nothing as steep as what had come up the night before, there was some, down sections and up sections that were absolutely covered in snow, where the car was just, sliding forward and sideways. And I was just trying to dab the brakes on as hard as I could and lock them up to put a bit of snow in front of the wheels to try and stop the speed from going downhill. Probably the most irritating thing about this snow was that the wipers, it would have been okay if the wipers were clearing the whole lot of the windscreen, but you can see those snow streaks across the screen. What was happening was you're getting great big ice blocks underneath the wipers, and you couldn't break the ice off the rubber. So it was half the windscreen was getting missed, and to try and see out was just crazy. This is looking back down to where I'd come the night before, and was I glad that I didn't camp on the other side of that hill then. You can just see in the back there behind the disco the spot that I was in. Really nice and out of the wind it was. It worked out really well because there was quite a wind during the night. But even when I got the fire going, it wasn't blowing, smoke wasn't billowing around everywhere, which was quite good. And this is the way we're going. I'm not sure how we're going to go with that heater running like that, but my toes are freezing, so I'm just going to leave that on. I'm not sure about the noise. Here we go, off onto the great unknown. I have no idea what this is going to be like today. My best guess is that I'm about halfway along this track, and of course I wasn't. Once I got to the end of the track, I was probably about 3/4 of the way along, which was good. Might do that window up. That'll get you. That'll get you every time. Well, I'm not sure how this is going to look from here. So as you can see, visibility was just absolutely ridiculous. The problem was that the snow was that heavy on all the branches, on all the smaller growth, that it was just leaning over into the middle of the track. And all I was doing was just gathering up the snow like I was gathering up wheat in the harvest. The visibility's a bit ordinary. I'm not sure if you can see what I can see, but it's not much, so you're probably seeing the same. This whole next part of the video, until we get to the end of this track, I've cut a fair bit of that out, but I spent every 30 metres I'd have to get out and shovel all the snow off the bonnet so I could see out of the screen, and my boots were just wet. My clothes were wet. It was crazy. This was a nice little section here where everything opened up and there was a bit of sunlight coming through. Just looks absolutely spectacular. I tell you, this was well worth it. You hardly ever get to drive or see the tracks like this ever in the high country. I mean, you can drive you can drive up at Mount Skeen and up at Bull Plain and Howitt and all of those things, but it's not to be driving through actually one of the full drive tracks like this and be seeing it from this perspective is quite unusual. So this next 20-30 seconds is what it was like pretty much for about 5 or 6 kilometres. So what happens is you get such a huge snow build-up that the wipers just stop working. So you've got no choice but to get out and shovel. But just check out this next bit of video of the colours. It's just incredible. So cool. Was very lucky to have done this. Okay, well that sunshine's good to see. I don't know about trying to clear that snow from the wipers though. It's not very cold, much. You can see now everything's starting to get wet, the seats are wet. Yeah, it's starting to get pretty ordinary. Clothes are definitely wet right the way through. You can see why I cut a lot of the video out, because this is pretty much how it looked for ages. Try and get some of this snow off. Definitely voided the paint warranty. Oh, that's not cold. No. Here's one of the climbs on this bit. Unfortunately, there was a descent that would have looked fantastic on the camera, but I was that busy trying to drive it that I didn't bother filming it. Unfortunately, I'm not sure where the sun went. The sun was out for a while we were getting down there to the Barkley River track. But once we went down to the Barkley River itself and then across to Bill Plain Road, the next time we seen sun was probably Lacola North, I reckon. There might have been a couple of patches in between, but it was very overcast. You can see here with the really thick snow that it ended up jamming the wipers. They're a press fit onto the shaft, so I just needed retightening, but yeah, it was a pain in the neck, that's for sure. And that's it, that's the end of the Mount Sunday track, or Alpine walking track. And we're down now on the Barkley River Road. And from here we're going to turn left and head down to the Barkley River. But yeah, it was a wild trip from camping to get back down here, that's for sure. But it was well worth it, it was a lot of fun. And I lost one of my microphones here, and that's what the sound is, cutting in and out. It landed in the snow somewhere on this corner while I was mucking about getting some of the snow off the car. But as I get further down the Barkley River Road, it really starts cutting in and out as it's getting too far for the Bluetooth. And the makeshift plastic flipper that's normally for the cooking turned out to be a really great way to scrape the windows. And off to the Barkley River we go. I thought it was going to get a lot better down the road, but it turned out that getting up the other side of the Barkley River when it was as muddy as what it was on that really muddy topsoil climbs turned into another quest. Join us on the next one as we head to Barkley River, Lacola, and back up to the Howard Road and follow the snow across the mountains from this huge dump.